Good morning. Well, I say good morning because I'm filming this in the morning. I don't know if you're going to watch this in the morning, the afternoon, doesn't really matter. We have just come out of a lockdown. I started filming this video while we were in lockdown. I asked you on my Instagram page and you said you'd be really keen to see what I do to stay motivated. I had a lot of my followers on my Instagram page messaging me saying lockdowns suck, you struggle with them, and me seem really motivated. There are days when I'm motivated and there's days when I have zero motivation, but there's definitely a few things I do to give me, and I hate saying it, but it's literally become that. I think our last lockdown was our 5th lockdown. They are not long for us. Our lockdowns are like 3 days, 4 days. This is the longest one, which I think was 9 days. But I have very quickly turned my lockdowns into a lockdown routine. So when we're not in lockdown, I have a routine. The kids have swimming lessons, they go to kindy, we go to the shops, we go out and meet friends and have bike rides and play dates. We went to the movies the other week. None of that happens in a lockdown, and I very quickly switch over to a lockdown mode. I have 2 little ones, 3 and 4.5, who Little Miss doesn't really understand why we are home, why can't we go for bike rides and that sort of thing. And to even add to this lockdown, I decided to trip over my son's bike, and you probably can't see it, but I've actually ended up tearing ligaments and I have a hairline fracture in my ankle, like my actual ankle bone, the top part. I've fractured up there. So while we were in lockdown, we were allowed to go for walks and runs and bike rides, just not with anyone else. We couldn't, because I injured myself. So lucky my husband was working from home, he had the odd day. But anyway, I'm rambling. I thought I would share with you some things that I try to implement with my lockdown routine. I don't do this all the time, but I try really hard to implement these things. And the longer the days go on, the more the days go on, I add more and more structure to the lockdown routine. Now, I know in Melbourne, Australia, and I know in Sydney and Greater Sydney, I think even like all of New South Wales now, you guys are really getting into some serious numbers for your lockdowns. Like I think you guys are in like week 7 or 8 in Sydney. And I can only imagine how hard that would be for anyone. And then throw on top of that some young little ones who just start driving you a little bit crazy. I can only appreciate what mums would be going in down there, but not just from a parenting point of view, just from an individual point of view. I thrive off routine, and I find it really easy to get off track. So I find it really easy to wake up in the morning and just be like, nah, I'm staying at home today, I won't put makeup on, I won't make my bed, I'll just let it go. That is fine to do, but every day for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, that's creating a bit of a bad habit in my opinion. Just my opinion. So I'm just going to share with you some of the things I try really hard to embed to keep a positive headspace while in lockdown. I actually look back. So we went into lockdown last year. I think it was for 6 or 7 weeks. I think the whole country kind of done that. And we went pretty hardcore. Like we tried really hard not to go out. We really listened to the advice of our government. We stayed home. We social distanced. If we had to go out, it was just like once every couple of days, and then we'd grab everything we needed, and then that was it. We just made it do until the next time we went out. But a couple of things I have learned along the way. For me, maybe they'll work for you, maybe they're a tip you haven't thought of, maybe you do something else, which I would love to know, because I know a lot of us are going through it. I have heard as well that America's numbers due to the C word have started going up. What's going to happen over there, I do not know, but I hope everyone is safe. I think Canada as well. You guys are going into winter, we're going into summer. Viruses tend to breed more in winter. Anyway, so the number one thing I do is make the beds. Now there's definitely days when I don't make it, I don't have the energy, and I'm just like, whatever, just leave it. But I do try really hard. The first thing in the morning I try to do is make the bed. If the rest of the room doesn't get cleaned, I don't mind, but making the bed makes me feel like I have achieved something first thing in the morning. It looks organized. When it comes to late in the evening and I'm going to bed at like 10 o'clock, my bed's ready for me to fall into and fall asleep. Now for me in lockdown, I have my husband at home and I have my 2 little ones at home. We get a very messy house very quickly, and that does not bother me. I'm actually sitting on the floor now because I'm sorting through my son's cars because we've got toys everywhere. That is fine. I don't mind when we go into lockdown a lot more relaxed of a home setup. I don't mind that there's toys and that everywhere. My kids are really good at cleaning up after themselves, but there's a couple of things I do try to keep on top of. So I set myself at least one thing a day, and that is always my kitchen. My kitchen, I'm in the kitchen all day, every day. I am cooking, I'm cleaning in there, I'm baking in there, the kids are making messes in there, the kids are helping cooking dinners in there. It's a busy place, and I find that I get very overwhelmed and a bit anxious when my house is messy. I don't feel like I've got control, and I just feel like there's too much going on. So for me, I clean my kitchen. If my kitchen is cleaned, I can prep lunches, I can prep dinners, and I'm good to go. In lockdown, I will put my dishwasher on 2 to 3 times a day. I'm not kidding, because my kids go through bowls and plates and cutlery, and they're making things. We make lots of things in our kitchen. Sometimes they're not edible, but my kids are learning. So for me, my kitchen is my haven of the one thing I need to make sure that it's cleaned is the kitchen, and I'll usually do it after breakfast. I do a clean, after lunch I do a clean, and then at dinner time I do a clean. It just keeps me calmer with all the other chaos going on in the house. And then of course, being at home, it is winter, we're wearing more clothes. I do try and do a load of washing a day. I should do that anyway, and some days I don't. Some days I do like 5 or 6 loads of washing a day and I'm like pumping it out. But in lockdown, I try really hard to do 1 load of washing a day, put it on the morning, and if I can hang it out by the evening, I'm winning. There has definitely been times I have gone to hang a load of washing out and I haven't, and it's sat in the basket the next day, and then the next day I've realized it's there and then I'm re-washing it again, and that's how I end up with like 10 loads of washing to do in one day. But that is a goal I try and do. I try and do a load of washing a day. It just makes me feel again like I'm achieving something apart from looking after my little ones all day every day. Now, I couldn't do it in this lockdown because literally the first day of lockdown or the second day of lockdown, I stacked it on my son's bike, like I said before, and I injured my ankle quite bad, ended up in the hospital, but I do try and get some sort of exercise in. I haven't filmed it on here, but I've talked about it before, which is the Chloe Ting. She does 15-minute free workouts on YouTube. I've actually done some because I can just do like a core workout or an arm workout. You don't need any equipment. It is 15 minutes. My kids love doing it, and I literally do it on this mat in the lounge room because I don't really have anywhere else to do it where I can have the TV and a mat and set myself up. So Chloe Ting, I will try and link her below. We'll do something like that there for you to check her out. I think she's great if you're a parent and you've got little ones at home or even teenagers at home and you want to do some activity but don't want to leave your home. I think she has some great workouts to do. 15 minutes. I think each exercise is like for 60 seconds or 30 seconds. It goes really quick. Now with my little ones at home, there is a few things I do to try and keep them distracted, I guess it is, to keep them occupied, to keep them busy so they're not wondering where their friends are, why can't they go out, why can't they see their grandparents. So what I like to do to get ahead of the game is I still prep their foods for the week. I make up their yogurts, I do a little bit of food prep after the groceries have come on a Friday, just to be more organized and ahead of the game. So when it comes to lunchtime, I can just dish it up and I give myself a break, or I can actually have lunch as well. It is intense when you're at home with little ones all day, every day. I have 2. If you have 1, if you have 3, if you have 4, it's tough. It's really tough to keep them occupied. So what I like to do is change things up on where they have their lunch, their morning tea, their afternoon tea, wherever they eat. So some days we'll have a picnic on the floor in the lounge room. Some days I'll get them outside sitting up. Some days we'll sit at the table. Some days they can watch their iPads and play their reading eggs games. Sometimes I'll let them watch a movie on their iPad or the TV. I just try and change it up so it's not the same boring routine. My kids thrive on routine, but when they're in a situation like this where there is nothing new coming into their environment, they definitely get a bit frustrated. The other thing I do is I bring in new toys. I'm not talking about buying toys. Quite a while ago, I started going out to Kmart and buying the odd $5 reduced down toy here and there, and I've got a stash of it stuck in our wardrobe. It can be used for Christmas or birthdays and that sort of thing, but I found it really handy when a lockdown kicks into place. I've got it there if I need it, but you do not need to spend money. I rotate my toys, and I have talked about this before on my YouTube channel, is I rotate my kids' toys. So my kids have a set of toys they play with for a few weeks, and then I remove that toy from sight, put it in a container, and I hide it under my stairs. 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I'll bring it out again, and it's like a new toy for them. Maybe you need to wait 2 or 3 months and then bring the toy back out for them. I did it with my son, and he fell back in love with his car, with his stacked car park thing. Loved it, created new things with it. Little Miss was playing with him, and they interacted really well together. We have had this for 3 years, I think, and I hide it probably every 2 months. I'll just go and hide it away, let it sit there for a few months, and then I'll bring it back out again. And it's like a new experience because he's grown, he's developed in certain areas. He uses it in a different way now than he did 3 months ago, and it is a great way to keep kids occupied. Have it as an inside toy, take it as an outside toy, rotate things around, rearrange. If you've got a playroom, we don't, but if you had a playroom, rearrange the playroom. You see me all the time in my YouTube videos rearranging the outside area of our house for my children, because it gives them a different way of looking at things and interacting with things, and it just gives me a little bit more sanity. And it reduces the arguments down just a little bit. And the other thing, my son is actually going into prep next year, and I do know there is a little bit of structure around his kindy class at the moment. So I do try and do every other day, not every day, and there is zero pressure. If he does not want to do it, he does not have to. But I bring out his writing books, and they just draw over the numbers and the letters, and we do counting and alphabet and writing names. Little Miss just joins in because she loves to colour. But little man, I do try and keep motoring on. I do try to keep progressing with his fine motor skills for writings when he goes to school. I don't want him to be behind in that area. He does not enjoy writing at all, and his kindy teachers are working really hard with him to pick up the speed. He's actually left-handed. No one in our family is left-handed. He doesn't enjoy writing. He'd rather be building blocks. So we are working hard with that. I've spoken to the kindy teachers with our interviews with the teachers, and it's definitely something I'm continuing while in lockdown. I bought these books months ago, I think from Amazon or eBay, I think Amazon. And you just get like a whiteboard pen, and you can like trace over letters and numbers, and then it helps them count and add, along with his reading eggs. But it's more that fine motor skill holding his pen that I'm trying to work on, which is something his teachers have identified, I've identified, and I want to keep it going while in lockdown. So I do that with the kids just to give them some structure and routine. Some days, guys, some days my kids just bum around the house and don't want to do anything. Doesn't bother me. I am quite flexible. I'm not up at 6, breakfast, tea, ready to go by 8 because there's nothing to do. I think the other day my kids and I didn't get dressed till like 9:30, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I've had to be a lot more relaxed and change the routine in lockdown. I've also found it really handy to still use my board or a piece of paper or your phone, and I'll actually write down tasks for the week. And that might be Tuesday, I want to do a load of washing. On Wednesday, we'll go for a bike ride. Husband takes him for a bike ride. On Thursday, we might do some type of arts and crafts. And I've at least got little goals written up for the week. I use my board. I find it really visual and really helpful, and it just sort of keeps me on track on things that I still need to achieve for the week. I find if I don't have some goals, I start to get sluggish. If I don't have some kind of routine, our lockdown routine, I lose motivation, I lack energy, which is really bad because I've got little ones to look after. So this is pretty much what we do when we go into a lockdown. At the moment, we've just come out of a lockdown. Is it our last one? Look, I don't think so, because we still have the C word floating around, and it is a strain that spreads quite quickly. I have found when we go into these lockdowns, and even coming out of lockdowns, I'm turning the TV off more. I'm trying not to watch the news as much. I have a girlfriend and she gives me an update once a day and I love it. It's like 5 or 6 lines I can read through and go, right, this is where we're up to. I find watching the news too much, I get anxious. It's all negative, there's nothing good coming out of it, and it just puts me into a really bad headspace. So turning that news off and just getting on with the day and progressing and not looking too far ahead. Our last lockdown, I think, got extended once or twice. And that just increases my anxiety. So if I keep looking at, well, what's next week going to look like, and we're going to be back in lockdown again in like a couple of months, and it's not good. So lockdowns happen. I have come to accept them. We have been extremely lucky not to have a long lockdown compared to some of the other states in our country. I would love to know if you have been in a lockdown, whether it's your first, your second, your fifth, whether you're in Sydney, Melbourne, or up in Cairns. How are you doing, and what are you doing that you can share with others in the country and around the world to get through a lockdown? Whether you're a person living on your own, what are some tips you are doing? If you work from home, how are you structuring your days? If you are a parent who is working and have little ones at home, what are you doing? Or if you're just a mum who's running around all day, every day after your kids, and you're feeling like you're not getting any relief in pulling your hair out, what are some tips that you are doing that you can share with other mums in this situation too? I'm hoping the stuff I've just explained to you today has helped in some way. These are just things that I'm doing. I'm sure the next lockdown I'm going to find something else that I can do to get better with my mental health to get through the lockdowns. That is my video today, guys, and I hope it has helped someone out there, and I hope you are all keeping safe. We will talk soon.